Hello everyone, welcome you all once again to our channel English Orchard. Today we are going to deal with the lesson Triumph of Surgery by James Herriot from Footprints Without Feet, Class 10. Here what we see here is a autobiography from James Herriot, who was born in the year 1916 and who died in the year 1995. And he was a veterinary surgeon, and from his experience he had written a series of books about animals and their owners. And what we see here in A Triumph of Surgery is about an incident that happened in the life of one dog in which he happened to treat. Okay, so in this we can see a dog with the name Tricki. Okay, as the lesson opens, we can see that this doctor's concern over Tricki, the pet dog. The narrator, Dr. James Herriot, was so much worried about seeing the pet dog Tricki owned by Mrs. Pumphrey. And we see that looking at the dog Tricki, the doctor feels so much worried about because it looked like a bloated sausage because it's hugely fat and his eyes had become red and tongue out of the jaw. And very sure enough that the dog is in a diseased condition. So as the doctor was moving on his car on the way, he happened to see Mrs. Pumphrey along with the pet dog Tricki. Okay, and now he understood that the sole reason behind this Tricki's fatness is because of Mrs. Pumphrey's overcare, or she is the one who is responsible for the pitiful condition of Tricki. The doctor is much worried about, and why this dog has become in such a situation or stage is because Mrs. Pumphrey thought that the dog is malnourished and it lacked what? It lacked energy. So what happened? She started giving cod liver oil, Horlicks, heavy meals every time. And also she was very sure that the dog liked cream cakes, chocolates very much. So she started giving it, over. And as a result of that, this dog becomes so greedy towards food, and whenever food was given or what time it was given, it was ready to take. Okay, and also we see that the doctor earlier might have given a proper diet to be followed to this Tricki, but Mrs. Pumphrey was not ready to follow this, as she thought that the dog is malnourished. She started giving extra cod liver oil, Horlicks, heavy meals every time, and the dog was very happy to have all these things. So what happened? When the doctor happened to see this dog along with Mrs. Pumphrey on the way, he started giving advice to Mrs. Pumphrey, telling that if you are not going to follow my diet or strict advice, definitely within no time your dog will get to in a sick condition, or it's going to get out of your control. So what happened? The doctor is giving strict advice to Mrs. Pumphrey that you need to give exercise, you need to cut down the foods, you need to give strict diet also. You see that Mrs. Pumphrey says that actually I am giving exercise and all, and now what happens here is our gardener is on leave for some 2-3 days, so my dog didn't get a chance to go out, play. Likewise, she is trying to give excuses like this. And anyhow, when the doctor advised her to follow strict diet, reluctantly she agrees that she finds it very hard, but there is no option for her. Okay, so she agrees that okay, she will give all these things. But what we see here is Mrs. Pumphrey is giving special attention for this Tricki. Why? Because she is wealthy, she loved Tricki very much, and also she is overprotecting this Tricki. You can just see how she arranged even a costume, wardrobe for this Tricki. She arranged a special wardrobe for Tricki. special cots for cold season, for rainy season, then separate cot for walking and for car travels. And this all shows that she is very wealthy lady and she loves her pet dog Tricki very much. Okay, and she is giving over concerning about Tricki is also highlighted here. That's why even though the doctor is giving advices, likewise she is reluctant to follow the advices. But what happened, as per the intuition made by our narrator, Dr. Tricki is sick now. What happened to Tricki? Within few days after saying this Tricki, the doctor got a emergency call. Emergency call from whom? Emergency call from Mrs. Pumphrey. What is that? Oh, my Tricki started vomiting frequently and he is not eating anything. He is always lying on rocks and he is not at all walking. He does nothing but lying only. This is a worried call from the part of Mrs. Pumphrey. And actually this call was expected by whom? Expected by the doctor. Okay. Now the doctor thought about a plan. What is that? In order to treat Tricki or his trick, he started, he said that, okay. When he got a call from Mrs. Pumphrey, he said that, yes, I'm coming there very soon to pick Tricki because he need hospitalization. Okay, because the doctor was much sure that there is nothing serious in this Tricki if he was properly given a diet and exercise regularly. Okay, this was not followed by whom? This was not followed by Mrs. Pumphrey. And what the doctor said? Doctor advocated hospitalization. Okay, for a period of 2 weeks. Here it says in the textbook it said fortnight. Okay, so he advised Mrs. Pumphrey that Tricki is in a very crucial situation. He need to be hospitalized for 2 weeks. So what happened? He himself went to pick Tricki from Mrs. Pumphrey's house. Okay, he carried Tricki wrapped in a blanket and took to his car. Okay, what happened? Once he had taken this, Mrs. Pumphrey and all the household members of Mrs. Pumphrey's house started, what is that? They started worrying and they started wailing. Wailing means they started crying because you know that how much they loved Tricki. This shows that how much they loved Tricki. So as soon as the doctor came to the house of Mrs. Pumphrey for hospitalizing Tricki in his surgery, everyone started, bidding farewell in a very pathetic condition. Even Mrs. Pumphrey's condition was very pathetic. She started wailing, crying, and they started packing all the necessary things, just like as we are going for a trip or something like that. They started packing all the necessary things such as clothes and utensils. Already we have seen the special dresses for special occasion was there for Tricki, and also special utensils just like spoon, then bowls, then cups, everything, special things was designed for this Tricki. They started packing all these things. Okay, and Mrs. Pumphrey feels that, what will happen if my Tricki won't see me? Definitely he will die disheartened if he misses her. She is thinking likewise because that is the bond between Tricki and Mrs. Pumphrey. Anyhow, she is much worried, and everyone in the house, including the housemates, were very sad and they started crying when our doctor took Tricki to his hospital. Okay, then what happened? Once he took Tricki to his hospital, he gave a bed with other dogs. You know that once Tricki was taken to the hospital, we see that the condition is so crucial that he can't walk, even he can't stand on his feet. He was lying only. So when he was taken to the hospital, all the other dogs in the hospital surrounded him to see, a new fellow came to our home, isn't it? And they started gathering all around and looking at Tricki, but Tricki was lying there. He can't do anything. So they thought that, what is this, isn't it? And they felt so uninterested and they left the place. Okay, but what happened? Mrs. Pumphrey gave special attention and special care to Tricki in her house. But here what happened? the doctor had given a bed along with other dogs in a warm box. That means no special consideration for Tricki was given here. Just like the other dogs was treated, Tricki was also treated here, isn't it? Or he was given the same bed just like other dogs. Then what happened? The doctor started giving the treatment. Okay, what was the treatment? For the first 2 days, he gave him no food. Because you see that what Mrs. Pumphrey gave him cod liver oil, then heavy meals, then horlicks, chocolates, cream cakes, everything. And as a result of that, he became like a bloated sausage. Okay, hugely fat. So, the first treatment, a narrator, the doctor, given was he gave no food for 2 days but had given plenty of water. Okay. At the end of the second day, Tricki showed some interest in his surroundings. That means he just got some sort of relief from that condition, physical condition. Then he gave a small signal like he wished to go out with other dogs. On which day? On the third day. That means on the third day also the doctor didn't give any food. What if Mrs. Pumphrey come to know about all these things? Definitely she will die on the spot, isn't it? She can't even think of likewise. Anyhow, the doctor didn't give any food. Only he gave plenty of water to Tricki for 3 days. At the end of third day, Tricki was having some wish to go out and play with other dogs. Okay? Then slowly and steadily we see that the doctor started seeing change in Tricki. Slowly he started walking, then jostling with other dogs. Jostling means just a funny fight or jumping all over, isn't it? They're rolling together with other members in the surgery. It's a veterinary hospital, isn't it? So all other animals will be there, and we see that Tricki was very happy to be with them. And he joined with other dogs in running, playing, bumping each other, then fighting with other dogs for food and all. And on the fourth day, we see that the doctor started just sent him to the place where food was served. And the doctor could see that no special food was given for this Tricki on the third day. But he was sent into the feeding room. When he went inside the feeding room, he could see that all other dogs were taking food. He also started going in between, and he also started fighting for food there. Doctor was very happy to see all these things. And also another entertainment that he had in this surgery is he started hunting rats in the hen house, isn't it? So that was a new experience for Tricki, because you know that in Mrs. Pumphrey's house he was not allowed to do all these things. Everything was given in front of him, just like he was born and brought up, just like in a house where every opportunities, facilities was given. He was fed with silver spoon, just likewise, isn't it? So this is the first experience that he was running and playing with other dogs. And above all, he got a new experience of hunting rats in the hen's house, isn't it? So he started becoming an active member in surgery. So what happened? For these 2-3 days, this Tricki was in the surgery. Then can you just imagine about what is the condition of Mrs. Pumphrey? Mrs. Pumphrey was so anxious about to know about Tricki. She started giving phone calls and says that she calls dozen times a day to get the updates of Tricki. She wanted to know whether the doctor or whether they are changing the cots regularly, the beds regularly, or is it very hygienic, or are they serving food on special dishes, utensils sent by Mrs. Pumphrey and all. And what happened once she came to know about that Tricki is getting better, and she was worried about the health of Tricki. So what she did, she started sending 2 dozen eggs. What is it? That is to improve the health and the strength of Tricki. She thought that, oh, I'm giving all these things here for Tricki. I don't know how they are treating Tricki there, so let me send some eggs there. And not only that, she thought of sending wine also. For what? Wine, grape wine, to improve the quality of blood. Whose blood? Tricki's blood. Okay. So Mrs. Pumphrey was so anxious to know about the condition of Tricki in the surgery. She started sending the 2 dozen of eggs and a bottle of wine to improve the quality of our Tricki's blood. Actually, who is enjoying with this eggs and bottles of wine? Mr. Herriot and his partners, they started enjoying a sumptuous breakfast as well as 2 glasses of wine before lunch and a few along with it. Each morning for breakfast, we see that the doctor and his partners were taking 2 eggs, which are sent for whom? Which are sent for Tricki. Okay. So, and actually, they thought that it's a very good idea. What is that? Actually, the doctor planned that, let us keep Tricki as a permanent guest. Why? So that we can enjoy wine, brandy, eggs daily, isn't it? For breakfast, they'll get eggs. After lunch and before going to bed, they can enjoy what? Wine and brandy. So, it's a good idea if we keep this Tricki as a permanent guest. But, you know that? And on the opposite side, we see that Mrs. Pumphrey was very much worried about. And she can't even think of spending more than 2 weeks, because 2 weeks is the assigned time given for Tricki to get better in hospital. So he can't keep more than this, isn't it? So the doctor started feeling so regret for keeping Tricki for their happiness of drinks and eggs, isn't it? So what happened? He decided to call Mrs. Pumphrey, and who was always thinking and worrying about Tricki. Finally, he made a phone call to inform Mrs. Pumphrey about the improvement in Tricki's health. Okay, and he called her and said that now our Tricki has got better and he is feeling good enough, better enough, and you can just come and collect him from the hospital. Okay, and you know that within minutes Mrs. Pumphrey was so anxious to hear about this, and she just arrived in this hospital, and we find that she is unable to believe about Tricki's health, because you know that Tricki was so tired and he was lying only on the carpet. Even he can't walk when he was taken to hospital. And now we see that Mrs. Pumphrey all of a sudden comes to the hospital surgery. Okay, and when her car reached in front of the surgery, doctor came out and he said, okay, you be here, because you know that she is much worried and she can't even believe whether what the doctor said was truth or not. Okay, the doctor said, you be inside the car, I'll bring him here, isn't it? He went inside, and what happened? Actually, he was playing with other dogs in the backyard. Okay, so the doctor took him, he was just carrying him, and you know that the dog was with his ears flapping and his tails waving. He was so happy. This is some of the happiest moment that a Tricki got in this hospital. Actually, Mrs. Tricki was not ready to give this opportunity, isn't it? He was all along living there as a prince or a king in Mrs. Pumphrey's house, isn't it? But you know that they always wish to be in their own kind, to play with other dogs and all, isn't it? But still, then he may be thinking about, I'm just missing some opportunities in life, isn't it? So, what happened there is, when Mrs. Pumphrey saw a little golden figure of Tricki in the hands of doctor, you know that actually he has turned to be a hard muscle animal. That means all the fat from his body had gone, and he now transformed to a very what is that little hard muzzled animal, and she can't even believe it. Okay, so immediately when Mrs. Pumphrey saw this Tricki, she was highly, what is it, so elated to see, and also Tricki is also so happy to see Mrs. Pumphrey its owner. So then what happened? Tricki immediately jumped from the doctor's arm and sailed into Mrs. Pumphrey's lap. She was seated inside the car, isn't it? So by the time he started rolling all over Mrs. Pumphrey's lap, and he started licking her face and roaming around with great excitement, isn't it? By the time we see that the doctor helped our driver to carry all the things which was sent by Mrs. Pumphrey. So it actually, doctor didn't take whatever was sent by Mrs. Pumphrey. He used all the things from the hospital only. Anyhow, he gave it back, the cot, the bed, the utensils, everything, and he helped the driver to keep it back to the car, isn't it? And we see that by the time both the mistress and the dog was overwhelmed with joy and happiness, and she on the way, immediately as they moved from the surgery, she looked back with great contentment, with great satisfaction, looking at the doctor, and she doesn't know how to say a big thanks, how to be so, grateful towards this doctor for giving her back. She never ever imagined that her Tricki will be the same like this, and she thought that definitely he has gone out of her control in a very dangerous situation. But with the immediate intervention of doctor to Tricki's life, he could bring back Tricki in such a healthy situation and give it back as a hard muscled dog. Okay, so this is what the story, the triumph of surgery, and this is the comment made by Mrs. Pumphrey, calling it the the cure of Tricki as a triumph of surgery. What the writer was trying to impart here: when healthy mistress, just like Mrs. Pumphrey, is there, overfeeding and over concern about something that they love too much, can result in such disease condition. Okay, overprotection. Everything should have their own limitation. If proper exercise, proper diet, and proper caring was given, this Tricki might not enter into such a devastating situation. Anyhow, the doctor was very happy. He didn't do any other medicinal treatment, but he had given only what? Reduce the diet, and he had given plenty of water to Tricki, and that is the only treatment given to Tricki, and he was back again to his normal health. Okay, this is all about the lesson Triumph of Surgery by James Herriot. Okay, thank you all. Have a great day.